A Sapphire Running Zone podcast.
Hi everyone, this is Tim from the Sapphire Running Zone, and this is another in our Don't Forget Your Gels podcast series. I'm delighted to be joined by Mark, who's going to talk all things beginner to 5K. So Mark's got a fascinating history, which we'll go through in a second. Welcome, Mark. Just give us a little bit of background and tell us where you're located, because it looks a lot sunnier than it is here.
Thanks very much, Tim. I love what you're doing, by the way. So yeah, super grateful for the opportunity to have a chat. So yeah, the ABCs are Mark White, founder of the Grateful Mile and also Daily 5. And I'm out here in Dubai at present. A few things going on from a professional point of view. So yeah, just the universe has landed me here.
So give us some background on those two projects that you mentioned in your intro.
There's a common thread, it's always just trying to think about low barriers to entry, how can we make a start somewhere accessible in this world of overwhelm and all the information and all the must do this over here, listen to this. It gets very intense. And a lot of this, if you strip away, the story around the mind and the confusion, it's simple stuff in a lot of ways, without downplaying some of what goes on. Like I said, I'm only human. I'll get caught up with it like the next person. But yeah, the Grateful Mile is all about attaching movement to gratitude, inviting people as often as possible, but hopefully on a daily basis to go out, invest that time in themselves, in their day, to go and walk a mile, run a mile, or introduce a mile segment into their 5Ks, 10Ks and beyond. And just use that time for appreciation, for focus, to be uplifted, to maybe change a perspective, change a day, and even if things are going really amazing, it's not so heavy, then, what do we use with that feeling of joy? Can we spread it around the place? Can we be of service, etc.? So, yeah, sounds romantic, but it is a beautiful frequency and something I'm deeply passionate about. And we've done some incredible things around the world since it got introduced a few years ago. And then Daily 5, equally so, it's like 5-minute bite-sized sessions, different ways of moving the body and your mind. And yeah, with an open mind, seeing if we can build these positive habits and incrementally, just letting these 5 minutes stack up to create a level of consistency in your life and support you as we navigate day to day, which, I've already kind of mentioned the word once or twice probably, but it can get very tricky out there, what to do, when to do it, how to do it. And so, yeah, we're here to provide, hopefully, just meet you where you are in life and to see if we can guide you in some way to make that next step a little bit easier.
That's really interesting, and we'll talk in a little bit more detail about those later. A few weeks ago, I had Ivor on the podcast. He is now doing Marathon des Sables in April, which we all know.
Yeah, he's changed. He's
Yeah,
changed.
it's a 280 kilometer run across the Sahara Desert, and Ivor was an absolute beginner 3 or 4 years ago, and he mentioned you in the podcast and said everything that he was doing now was because of the work that he did with you. So just give us some history on how you work with Ivor on his running journey and some of the sort of pointers that you gave him when he started out on his first 5K.
Yeah, what a guy! Really good egg, and it's beautiful the kind of the journey that you go on in life and the things that I've created as a consequence, the people that I've met along the way, and the connections that I've kind of got, and the impact that you've had on people, and Ivor being one of them, and he's always so super grateful and lets me know, not every day, but quite often I'll just get that appreciation post to say, "Oh, thanks for the energy you brought and the part that you played in my journey." And so it's great to see now that he's challenging himself and going around the world and doing all these amazing things. And to go back to that moment in time, I had a community interest company in the UK, and it was largely centered around being active, being outdoors, being in your local community, showing up for your local community, and I used the vehicle of running to kind of be that access point and to encourage people, no matter where you were. Maybe you could be inspired to get involved in a really meaningful local event, to just get out, see your town in a different way, meet other people locally, and we've done some amazing things over the years, and it got to a point where it was expanding and having an impact in different counties. And Ivor's girlfriend at the time worked for the local authority. They took on the Your Town community model that I'd created, and it was Ivor's first 5K. And I think he was trying to impress his girlfriend at the time. And yeah, I think he obviously shared some bits in the podcast around his, where he was in his life and trying to create positive habits and better behaviours and a better lifestyle. And yeah, so the Your Town 5K in Hemel Hempstead was his gateway into the Sahara Desert. And yeah, so it's really great. I mean, like anything, he kind of met it halfway. He committed to it and signed up to it. And yeah, the rest is history. And he got that spark that I had, that you got, and that many others get, where it kind of, yeah, it leads on to the next run and the next run. And then, yeah, beyond that, wherever your feet take you, they take you. But yeah, as we probably all know, at the very start, I don't think we could all have guessed where it might take us, because getting out the front door for that first run is the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, it's not many of us that go from a 5K to a 280K. Most people would go from a 5K to a 10K and then
Yes.
potentially half marathon. But what are the most important steps from your perspective on getting out for that first run? Particularly this time of year, a lot of people have got the New Year's resolution, I want to get fit. That can often be, right, I want to do a 5K. So they might set a March, April target for a 5K. But it's obviously very easy at this time of year to sort of say, "Oh, no, I'll do it tomorrow because it's a bit wet and cold outside." What do people need to do to make that definitive first step into this journey?
Yeah, I mean, I can only speak from my lens and my own lived experience. And, to go back to my own early days of running, I was giving up smoking at the time. And a really good friend of mine was committed to equally giving up the cigarettes. And he'd had a level of experience in his life of the value of fitness and running in particular. But I knew that I wanted to give up smoking. Fast forward a few months, I was mature enough to know that you need a level of consistency to give it. You can't just go on one run and kind of just, give up, although that's what the mind wants to do. But I gave it a period of time and I was like, oh, do you know what? I don't know if this running thing's for me. And one day he just turned around and he said, listen, one day I feel like walking. And all of a sudden, because of my experiences in other areas of my life around meditation, mindfulness, I was just like, actually, if I can make this a more mindful experience, if I can not put pressure on myself with these PBs and distances and just kind of go out and appreciate the fact that I can. And then all of a sudden, something quite dramatically shifted in me, Tim. And before I knew it, my whole experience around running and movement had changed. But I suppose, like anything in life, when you commit to something with conviction, it's just, you know, having that level of desire and want to continue, because the monkey brain's going to get involved. And as you mentioned, I'll do it tomorrow, and always trying to corrupt us. And it's just, yeah, just having that want and need, and for a lot of people, that comes from a bit of despair or a bit of a scenario in which we reach a level of, I can't do this no more. I need to try something. I need to get fit, or whatever the situation. So yeah, so you've got to want it. It's a level of determination, and then hopefully, I've heard something years ago: don't leave before the miracle happens. And yeah, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, show that level of consistency, then yeah, one day it would just, yeah, it would be like, oh, okay, I'm doing this, and this is now part of my life. Yeah, I'm super grateful that it's, the path it's taken me on in lots of different areas, but I always strip it back to the fact that I love to run, and I'm very grateful for that.
Yeah, I think one of the most important things that I find when I'm working with absolute beginners and touching on your point about walking is, don't be scared to walk. A lot of the stuff I'm doing is very much around, walk for a minute, run for a minute. It's not
Perfect.
about times. It's not about, oh, I want to do a 5K in under 30 minutes or 40 minutes or whatever it is. Walk a minute, run a minute. How many minutes can you keep that going for? And it's amazing. I mean, I worked with the lady the other day, and we're now up to 40 minutes of
Incredible.
run walk. And, you change those minutes of walking and running to 2 minutes or 3 minutes. And gradually you get to a position where you wouldn't have thought it possible. I trained my wife to do a London Marathon a few years ago. And as you can imagine, that was a fairly hairy experience. Um, but our first run was a minute and we finished. And I said, right, that's it. Now we'll just go for a little walk. And she was like, well, no, I can do it. I said, yeah, but I don't want you to get to a point where you're tired. I need you to want to do it again tomorrow. And I think that's, we talk here about this training principle of progression, don't we? And
Hmm.
that is singularly the most important part of training for any distance event. I'm very much interested in this new project of yours, though, where you've got a more holistic approach to training. So talk a bit more about the integration of meditation and other aspects into your training.
Yeah, it's been huge for me, and even I alluded to the fact that even before my running kind of kicked in to be part of my life, it was, yeah, I was already on this kind of journey of, it's now titled as all kinds of stuff: wellness, self-discovery, self-development. I sobered up at 18 years old. Found myself in rehab just for addictions and very hopeless period of my life. But, that was nearly 24 years ago now. I'm 24 years sober nearly. And so anyway, I bring that up into conversation because of how important that is to me for one, but also just the doors that it opened in regards to how I can support myself physically and mentally. And all the opportunities that are out there to kind of, yeah, to give myself the best chance really to be the best version of me, be of service to others. And so yeah, I was already kind of tuned into certain things prior to my running, and yeah, it just kind of felt like there was enough stress in my life and pressure. I didn't want running to be an area of my life in which I kind of suffocated myself with again. Life's stressful enough, and it's like, there's always obviously respect for whatever or whatever anyone runs. Whether they want to chase PBs and really push themselves, that's super cool. It's just never been my way really. And yeah, so to kind of weave it in there felt very natural. Especially after being nudged by my friend with what he shared about one day I feel like walking. And it's just been progressive, just using that time to be more mindful, to look around me, to bring me back to the moment, to say what I see. Yeah, to kind of let other people know, whilst I'm out, how much I appreciate them. Just kind of bringing this good energy in and this kind of more uplifting spirit. Whilst out and when I'm spending that time, I've never chose to listen to music or podcasts whilst running, and yeah, to bring that into like the project outside of the Grateful Mile, but Daily 5 is like, how do I support myself outside of the run? Because maybe a lot of people run to escape, and it's like running away from something, or just to kind of get outdoors, and because life can get so heavy, and use it as a bit of an obsession. And if I don't do this time, or if this doesn't happen, or if I get injured, all of a sudden we feel a certain way, and it really interrupts with our mental state. So yeah, okay. So what tools can we have in and around us to facilitate certain things at certain times that are not so heavy, but might just shift, a perspective or whatever. So there might be a bit of mobility, a bit of meditation, a bit of qigong, a bit of tapping. Could be some lighter exercise, but also it could be some visualization and some goal setting, which a lot of people now use for races and things of that nature. So yeah, it was just kind of creating a platform that with an open mind and with the variety there might be something for you outside of the run. And yeah, and I'm very optimistic it can do a lot of good, and it's served me really well. So yeah, I'm very proud that we've partnered up with a lot of running clubs, a lot of running crews, and a lot of running events. So yeah, there's an opportunity there for the runners to get a level of well-being support, outside of the structure of the event or of the run, because as we know now collectively, it's all so important on a day-to-day basis.
Yeah, indeed. Now, you're training for half marathon in Dubai at the moment. Talk us through then how you integrate that into your training for that half. When is the half? It's reasonably soon.
Yes, so what's the date now? It's kind of like early Feb, first weekend of February out here in Dubai. Yeah, so I don't often do events or kind of follow training programs. It's very intuitive for me. I've got to know my body over the years, and certain things spark my imagination, and I commit to them and I do them. I just did an amazing 50K ultra run in the mountains in Hatta, just outside of the city here in Dubai, by an amazing company, world's iconic. The elevation, the mountains were very high, Tim, very, very high. The fires were burning. And so that was cool. That was just before Christmas. And then this was in the diary by the same organisation, and they're amazing people. So, and the Grateful Mile got introduced to the Birds to Birds community last year. So they've been very kind to me and the work that I do. So yeah, just day to day, I'll just try and keep myself well conditioned. I'll try and listen to my body. I don't push too hard. If some days I go out and I feel good, then just very naturally and organically, I tend to go a bit faster or a bit longer. But yeah, always kind of to carve out a grateful mile within my run. And then just always remember as well that, how lucky I am to move in certain ways, and if I struggle to get out the door, which that brain more often than not, if not every run, always kind of suggests that maybe I should go later. So that's never changed over the years. I'll just always remind myself, I'll go back to a moment in time where I was injured or I was poorly, and I would just to adored to get out and just done a mile at least. And I always remind myself at them times that okay, sometimes you've got to listen to your body, etc. But a lot of the time, it's just your body's just a bit lazy. So yeah, training. I tend to. I've got some really really amazing people in and around me that are coaches, and obviously we have conversations, not directly for me, but you tune into it and you kind of soak it all in over time about how they train, how they run, what their relationship is running, and to go back to that intuition, I feel like all that just kind of feeds into me, and I take what I want when I need it, if I feel it's appropriate. And yeah, it's kind of that approach has served me well, and yeah, if it doesn't, one day what served me today might not serve me tomorrow. So I'm always open, and the day will come when I don't even know what my PB is, Tim. So the day will come. Maybe I'll go for it burst to burst. Who knows in a couple of weeks.
Yeah, I think your conversations there about PBs are very interesting because a lot of people do get very upset about PBs, and yet they are pretty much, you know, not irrelevant for people, but not really that important. I remember years ago running the London Marathon and with a friend, and she did it in 4:01, and she was devastated that she didn't go under 4 hours. And I'm like, "But why worry? It's your first one. You've had an amazing day. Don't beat yourself up on something like that. It really doesn't matter. I understand why people want to hit certain targets, but just enjoy the fact that you have had an incredible day.
Mm,
And I love your sort of mantra about being grateful, because how many times do we look out the door and go, I just can't be asked running today because it's too
mm,
cold or wet. Whereas actually the positive way of looking at it is, my God, how lucky am I that I've got the opportunity to go out, because a lot of people haven't. And I think putting that kind of spin on things does
mm.
change your motivation massively, doesn't it?
Yeah, it really, really does, and we've spoken about making a start anywhere, and we've had a lot of feedback over the years from people all around the world that this walking a mile every day and just getting that habit and that consistency and doing that daily has then kind of led into running that mile or running that mile as you've kind of brought up a couple of times as well, and then that mile's turned into two, turned into three, so. And it's inspired the Couch to 5K stuff as well. So, like you said, like all the mad stuff that kind of goes on in the world now, like the Sahara Deserts ultras and the running across countries. I think a lot of people forget that 5K is a very, very long way. But just because they see everything else that kind of goes on, they kind of belittle it a little bit. And even a mile's a long way if you're not used to it. So start anywhere, start with what you got, start where you are. Don't let that comparison and divide kind of interrupt your flow, because it's all relevant. It's all relative, it really, really is. But if you can just go out and move your body 2 or 3 times a week and maybe get involved in a community event and kind of experience that energy of a 5, 10K, then fantastic. Like you said, we're lucky enough to maybe have these opportunities, and they're all out there for us, and they're more accessible now more than ever, and
Yeah. Now, we started off by talking about Ivor and his Sahara ultra marathon. Let's finish up by talking about yours then. Ultras are certainly in vogue at the moment, aren't they? For sure. I don't think I've ever heard as much discussion
no.
about ultra marathons as there is currently. Tell us a bit more about how you trained for yours then, because I've had lots of conversations on podcasts with runners that have done ultras, and it doesn't need to be as scary as people assume, need it?
No, the ultra thing was very interesting for me because for years, anything over 10K, I got really bored. And it was just like, okay, that's my sweet spot, for a very long time. And then a good friend of mine was talking about his own ultra experience. He was a very keen runner, loved it. And he was like, oh, no, he said, it's not about PBs and distances, like which a lot of people think about the marathon. He said, ultra running is just time on feet. It's time outdoors. And very similar to my friend who kind of mentioned about the one day I'd be like walking, something shifted in me, Tim. And I was like, oh, okay, that sounds attractive. And yeah, so I kind of committed to our first ultra marathon during COVID times that got postponed. As a consequence, we come across this 24-hour challenge of running a mile on the hour every hour for 24 hours, including the 5K. So collectively is a marathon distance. And I thought, okay, that's cool. To put my little creative spin on it, I dedicated every mile to gratitude. Anyway, that was the day that the Grateful Mile was born, and it's done what it's done around the world. So in a roundabout way, it's because of this ultra chat. So bringing it to current day, I've got really friendly with the incredible people behind Camino Ultra over in East London. They facilitate some amazing experiences, entry level, first ultras, just super kind training, coaching, everything else. So I did 50K with them and a couple of times and got to know them really well. And then, yeah, this one a couple of weeks ago really sparked my imagination in the mountains. I thought amazing scenery, really extreme compared to the Epping Forest, which I'm used to. Let's go and experience it. Let's have time on feet, even if it takes me X amount of time. I got caught out a little bit because of the mountains were very high as I've shared, but I did it. And my body was well conditioned in a lot of ways. I've kind of got a rough mileage that I like to do every week, which is nothing amazing. It's just I go out 5 or 6 times a week at my leisure, very sustainable. I go out for 4 or 5 miles, 6 miles, 7 miles, nothing outrageous, hour and 10 minutes. But collectively, that kind of gets to the 30-mile a week mark, which kind of, holds me in good steam, really. So if these things do pop up, then I'll give it a go. And if I feel like maybe halfway through it's not for me and I feel a twinge, then I know myself well enough to think, okay, not today, Mark. I don't push myself irresponsibly, because the value of being consistent outside of the event is more valuable than doing the event, if that makes sense.
And what's the next one? What's the next ultra?
Probably depends on where I'm at, but there's some really cool stuff that goes on over here. But I'm really good friends, as I said, with Camino Ultra, and they do 2 or 3 things throughout the year, which I love. So yeah, we'll see. I'm actually signed up for the London Marathon. I've got a spot. I got picked out of a hat, or whatever it's called.
Did you?
The ballot. Yeah. So that's,
Wow.
I know, mate. I know, Tim. So yeah, I'm signed up for that. First time. I've done lots of work with London Marathon, just through my community work and the Grateful Mile. But yeah, I've never experienced it directly, and so I'm super excited about that. Yeah.
I'm not surprised. Well, it's great to be able to do a podcast with someone that's got drawn out of the ballot.
It's hard. Yeah, I've heard. Yeah. So yeah, it's incredible. I'm so excited about it. So yeah, this Birds to Birds in a couple of weeks will just kind of keep me on my toes as we work towards April.
Indeed. Well, it'd be great to have another conversation with you in the next few weeks for sure, to see how your training's going for London and how the half was. That'll be very interesting to see.
Well, if you want to hop on a plane, Tim, there's still time. Well, I think they've sold out, but yeah,
that's certainly one I'd like to do. I did the Dubai Marathon years ago, and I'd very much like to do a half there, particularly in this current climate. I think it's about 2 degrees here at the moment, so that would be a lovely place to do a race. It's a collective wish, isn't it, from both of us, that we can help people get out and train for their first 5K. And as we've seen with Ivor, you just don't know where it's going to take you.
No, thanks, Tim. We'll share a Grateful Mile together in person in the near future, hopefully.
Great stuff. Thanks, Mark.
Thanks very much, Tim.
Thanks for listening to this Sapphire Running Zone podcast. Keep checking back, as we have lots more podcasts coming soon.